Welcome to Trade Talk Wisconsin. I'm Emily Pritzko, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council. And today we're spending time with a local that is doing creative, forward-thinking work both in how they serve their members and how they're growing their union. We're also going to sit down with attorney Casey Shorts to talk about something every building trades member needs to understand: what your rights are when you get hurt on the job, how to navigate the workers' compensation system, and what to keep an eye on when the insurance company starts making decisions about your claim. But right now, Heat and Frost Insulators Local 19 is based out of Pewaukee and represents workers across southern Wisconsin and parts of northern Illinois. These are the men and women who insulate the pipes, ducts, and mechanical systems that keep our buildings running efficiently, our workers safe, and our energy costs in check. They're running ESL programs, investing in mental health initiatives, and coming soon, they're bringing financial literacy programming to a membership that has spent their careers mastering a highly skilled, highly compensated trade. With me today is Brett Large, Business Manager of Heat and Frost Insulators Local 19, Kimm Hansen, Business Representative and Financial Secretary Treasurer, and Yvonne Herrada, Director of Membership Development. Gentlemen, welcome to Trade Talk Wisconsin.
Thanks for having us.
I want to start with the basics because a lot of people listening might not be aware of what exactly it is that Heat and Frost Insulators do. You guys are kind of a niche, specialized union. So, Kimm, do you want to give people an overview of what an insulator does?
When people hear the word insulation, they think of, walls or in your attic space, but we actually insulate mechanical systems, which is the plumbers' work, the steam fitters' work, the sheet metal guys, and the boiler makers all weld together pipes and tanks and duct work for your HVAC systems. We insulate that to keep hot things hot and cold things cold, saving a lot of energy costs for the end users of the buildings.
And Local 19 covers southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois in your jurisdiction. What is that work looking like for you all right now? Where would I see your members? And are they keeping pretty busy these days?
Yeah, we're extremely busy.
Yeah. I mean, we have folks working out at Camp Randall, UW. They're working out at the data centers down in, the Microsoft data center. They're up in the Vantage one up in Port Washington. There's in powerhouses all around, southern Wisconsin and stuff, schools, office buildings, commercial jobs, all over the place. So.
Let's talk a little bit about all of you. I was hoping to do brief introductions. Maybe we'll just start closest to me and go that way. Kimm, can you give me a little bit of an overview of your role, what you do day to day, and then how you came into the union?
Sure, yeah. So what I do day to day is I am also the financial secretary, so I do a bit of clerical work in the office, but my business agent duties consist of going to building trades meetings and also dispatching workers to the various contractors that we have, and also just dealing with daily issues or, hopefully sometimes there's positive feedback from our members. We're all people that they call, but my favorite part is dealing with the positive feedback from the members. But yeah, I worked in the non-union sector for 15 years before I found Local 19, and I'm so glad that I did. I want to tell you that it's really changed my life. We get a raise every year thanks to collective bargaining, and I wish I was, a member sooner. So I was 33 years old when I got in, and we've got a good 10 years ahead of me at least, and it's going to be a good 10 years. I know our workload is looking strong, so and our membership is top notch. We have a lot of good quality members. Just very, I appreciate Local 19 more than anyone would know. So.
How long were you working in the field before you decided to join union leadership?
I was in the field from 13 to the beginning of 23, so just about 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And now we're all lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Brett,
Thanks.
how about you?
So I'm the business manager of Local 19. Basically handle the day-to-day, on the goings-on in the union. Working with, all of our guys here, the team, the apprenticeship department, the various funds, our pension, annuity, and health funds, the education department, and the training and stuff. Working with, our secretary, just kind of keeping things rolling, negotiating contracts, dealing with issues with membership or with employers, various other trades, just trying to put out those fires and kind of deal with those things on a day-to-day basis. So I've been in Local 19 for 37 years. I got in when I was 19. I had family in the trade. My brother talked me into doing this. And so I got in, started when I was 19, and I worked in the field, completed my apprenticeship, worked in the field for about 15 years before I got this position. Prior to that, I had been on the executive board or organizing committee, vice president, and trustee and stuff. And then got elected to this position. Been doing this for 22 years now.
So the trustees and the executive board, that is more of like a part-time responsibility, right?
That's correct.
You're working out in the field in a lot of cases, and then you are part of those meetings where you're making leadership decisions for the union, and now this is all three of yours full-time job,
Correct.
right? Working directly for the union instead of a contractor. Cool.
Yep.
And last but not least, Yvonne, can you tell us a little bit about how you came into the union? I know you did something a little different before you became an insulator, right?
Yeah. So I think for me, and how it all started was my girlfriend's dad, which became my father-in-law, first introduced the trade to me, but then I was stuck on, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that. Quickly I realized it just wasn't gonna go anywhere. Just money wasn't gonna be there in the future. I was lucky enough to be able to notice that at such an early age of my life or time in my life, and eventually I completed all the paperwork, everything. I had nothing to lose, making $10 an hour, and I couldn't believe the paperwork that we still hand out at career fairs. Nothing besides the wages has changed. It's still old school, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, once I applied and everything, we were a year and a half to get in, and finally a big project, Northwestern Mutual in Milwaukee, came up. And it had, language for resident preferred program, participation, coin certification, all these different things. So that kind of allowed me to get my foot in the door. Once that happened, then yeah, I was in the field, just learning, sort of my 4 years of apprenticeship, and I never looked back. I think that was the best part. And then now an opportunity came up 7 years later. I think I always joke around and I say it's, it was 7 years too early. I wish I would have been in the field 15 years longer to really, build that relationship with my coworkers, all the members. But sometimes, Brett had a different vision when the last organizer and president retired, and his vision was, how do we market ourselves? How do we rebrand? And I happened to be in the field, but on the side, I was doing other social media marketing, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually the opportunity came and I stood out, I guess. And from there, now it's been just pushing the brand forward, changing things up and developing our members and really paying attention to what our members need. I think the beauty about our union, it's the fact that all three of us, everyone in the office, from apprenticeship coordinator, instructor, the only one I would say it's our office professional, it's we all were in the field. We understand what it means to wake up at 4 in the morning, put your boots on, pack your lunch, go to work 8, 10, 12-hour days, and then come back. And that's why we work so well, and that's why our membership, it's easier to activate them, right? Because we've been there, we understand where they're coming from, and as long as we keep that in our minds, I think the union's going to keep pushing another 120 years.
And you guys do such a good job of it. You did a really good segue into what I want to talk about next, which is kind of cutting through the noise right now that's going on around discussions around skilled trades careers. But something else you said about, activating our members. There's so much work out there. It's so exciting, but it seems like there's a lot more pressure on all of us to get out information about the work we do and why it's important in infrastructure and why infrastructure is important. And I think that's something that unifies us across all the trades, is our efforts to do that together. But you guys do it in a really neat, creative way. And I want to talk about that a little. So like I said, there's a lot of excitement around trades careers now more than ever. Every union, every workforce development program, every politician is kind of shouting from the rooftops how these are the new it thing for you to get into for your career. We're seeing millennials like me grappling with student loan debt, and this seems like a really great, exciting alternative for people to consider for the security of themselves and their family. But how do you break through all of that? Because it is everywhere you turn. How, especially with a smaller, more niche union like we were talking about, get out your brand and talk about the work that you're doing to attract individuals into your union?
I think a lot of it is, unfortunately, like we already mentioned before, we're a small trade. That means a small leadership, right? That means we all have to wear a lot of hats. And unfortunately, we work a lot of hours. But I think because we're all passionate about getting the name out there, representing who we are and our members, it allows us to be very aggressive. We just have become very aggressive when it comes to recruitment, from hitting either job sites, when you're looking for people who are already doing our work, they just don't know they're going to be our members in the future, right? To our high school, high school senior looking to trades, hitting all the career fairs, to night classes, to weekend classes. The only way, and it's almost like deer hunting, right? You're only going to see a deer if you're out there, right? So if we're not out there, then we're not going to see that top recruit that we're looking for. We're competing against, you mentioned it, it's becoming trendy, right? The trades is trendy. Everyone and their mom wants to be a tradesperson now because of TikToks and social medias, whatever it is. But the biggest thing is we got to look, we're competing against the plumbers, electricians, and carpenters in the sense that in high school, that's what people want to, that's all they know, or they know someone in the trade, and that's all you hear, but no one hears what a heating frost insulator does. So we have to be way more aggressive, be at the schools, make connections, do more ads, do all that. But at the end of the day, we also have to tell a true story, and the reality is it's not easy to get into a niche trade. It's very competitive. We have, now that we've built the brand, it's a lot of people want it. They like the benefits and all that, and it's how do we now develop them into an actual member we're going to have a better retention rate, and that's what we've gotten really good at. It's selling the trade, but also informing people, how long the application process is, how long it takes, encourage them to not give up, and then once they get through all the noise and they complete the entire process, they never look back, and I think they become the biggest advocates of our trade and our union.
Who are those people you're looking for? What are some of the clues to you when you're out and about meeting people and spreading the word of the Insulators Union, where people jump out at you as like, this person might be a very good fit for us?
So I think it's easy. It's you can just tell the hunger, and I mean, like, you're poor, you're hungry, but it's just a drive, right? Like, people that actually want to get out of the hole, whether it's that, I always say that 18-year-old kid, high school senior, he's competing against, or they're competing against, 200, 500, 1,000 other seniors are trying to get into the trades now. And they're not necessarily going on the non-union side, and at the end of the day they can, but they're looking towards the union side because it's a career, it's not a job. And that union careers provide stability. So now we sell it's just like college. It's a 4-year program, anywhere from 3 to 5 years, right, depending on the trade. But that's the biggest thing. It's that they know and their parents know that once you get into a union apprenticeship program, it's gonna be lifelong, right? You're gonna see retirement, you're gonna see the health benefits, you're gonna see all those things. So it gets very competitive. Then you got that 20 to 22-year-old that, college dropout or college graduate with debt. And that sucks. Now they're looking for a career that's gonna hopefully get them out of that debt and then give them stability and be able to have a fulfilling lifestyle, right? But then you have that 20 to 35-year-old that's looking for, a career that's gonna sustain not just themselves, but now they have a kid in their way. Now it's 3 heads, 4 heads. And then you have that 27-year-old that's no longer in mom and dad's insurance. So now, they gotta get serious about their health care. And then now they're focusing on what career is gonna provide that for me. Or that 30 to 45-year-old, that industry's changed. You hear the big change right now with AI, and jobs are gonna disappear and all that kind of stuff. But people already have good jobs with good benefits and 401ks and all these things. And those people are probably making $30 an hour or more. And now they're looking for a career that they see is actually sustainable, and that's a union building trades career right now. And yeah, it's just pinpointing those individuals, seeing who stands out, and you can kind of tell who kind of has an understanding and what they want. And those are we're going after the go-getters right now.
These guys do a really good job at the career fairs of, they break down how the benefits look. So, and you have a lot of people that come through, they're just looking for a job. And they're not paying attention to that part of it. When they break it down, you can see the ones that actually get it. And they're like, oh, this is a career. Like, this isn't just a job. So the way they break it down, this is what your retirement's going to look like. This is how your healthcare looks. This is how all those things look. So they do a really good job with that. And then you get a lot of questions from people. A lot of people want to follow up on it. And those are the go-getters, right? Those are the ones that they get it. They see this as a long-term thing. And I think that helps a lot, because anybody will fill out an application to get a job when they see the wage.
Yep.
But when it comes down to seeing what the retirement looks like, what the healthcare looks like, all the various benefits, that's when you're really connecting with the right people, And these guys do a really good job at that in the career fairs. So they've really been hitting them a lot. And a big thing is, like you both talked about the student debt and all that. And you go to school for however many years, what is the placement rate in that particular field that you're going to school in? And we have 100% placement rate, because you're already working in the field. So when they can show that you have 100% placement rate, when you go to your college interviews, ask them what the placement rate is for that particular field you're going to go to. It really does help a lot. And the kids that ask that are ones that are thinking about their future. They're thinking about their careers. And that's where I think you get a little better candidates from that.
Yeah. I just want to add to that too. Anyone really can be a good candidate. I think we kind of let them know up front that, yeah, this is a great career. It will provide a really good retirement package and everything, but we do let them know the hard part of it at the beginning too. You do have to wake up at 4 a.m. like Yvonne said. You have to crawl around in steam pits under the roads. You have to climb up above ceiling grids sometimes, and it's not always an easy thing to do, wake up early to kind of abuse your body all day long. But when we tell them that up front and they still are interested and they still want to make that commitment to be there every day reliably and be on time, it goes a long way, and really anyone can be a good candidate.
Yeah, you can really tell, kind of to add on to Kimm, it's once the people understand that it's you, ultimately you have to make the decision to invest in yourself. We're just the ones that help you get through the 4 years. Toughest part is to get in, right? Second hardest part is to complete the 4-year apprenticeship program. But it's those people, doesn't matter what background, what it is, you can just tell that they understood. We give them the tour, they see it, and they're like, oh, I had no clue what a heat and frost insulator was. Now they do it, now they double down on their investment. Their investment is, I'm gonna show up, I'll make sure I put in my 8 hours, I won't be late, whatever it is, take the classes, and I'm gonna make a career out of it. And it comes ultimately to the people,
I feel really lucky that you guys have been great about including me in, a lot of different events you guys do, which we'll talk about later, but senior signing day is the one that I want to start with. Can you talk a little bit about how you decided to bring that into the mix of your events and what it's meant for your apprentices and their family, and how it's kind of helped you guys level up as you've been increasing the brand of your union?
Senior signing day came up the first year that I got in. Again, we wear a lot of hats, so it just came from me helping our apprenticeship coordinator. He was swamped with trainings and everything, so that allowed me to go and kind of do more of the marketing part and start hitting high schools, all that kind of stuff. And there was something missing. That missing part was everyone was so focused about college. And I went to a private school, and the big thing is like, oh, you select what college you're going to, and they made a big deal about it, but no one introduced me to the trades, and I was like, how can I change that pattern? When that happened was, let's make an insulator one, and originally it was through the building trades, but nothing really happened with it. So then I told Brad, I'm like, hey, I think we should do it, and I think if you allow me, we have candidates that we kind of, we worked on, talked to counselors, teachers, principals, all these people. I think there's a lot of support to this, and building trades, obviously. So then when all of a sudden, it was very quickly, came up with the plan, executed, and the beauty of it was all the people I expected there showed up. Parents showed up, siblings showed up, best friends showed up, our members showed up, our executive board showed up, and our partners, President Milwaukee Building Trades, yourself, the ATR for DWD, right? All these different people that there's a lot of meaning to that. I had never seen anything like that. But the beauty was that these 3 individuals got to see the importance of joining the heat and frost insulators, and that changed their life. That then allowed them to see that they made the best decision of their life. I always tell people, treat it like you're going to college, tour training centers, like you tour colleges, make the best decision, because you're not going to look back. And through the mentorship programs that we have, the membership development that we do, the idea is to hopefully get them through it and actually one just carve it out early, because we've been there since day one, shaping them to be the leader that we want him to be. And honestly, he's a great individual. So, and then the rest are coming next year, for carting out. But yeah, it's been awesome to get the community partnerships, the leaderships to partner up with, and just give those individuals a moment for them to shine and say, hey, you didn't make the bad decision. The building trade, this is a career. This is not a job. You're choosing to level up on your skills and then become a professional. I think that's the difference between union and non-union. We are literally the professionals, right? When we show up, we have to be professional about our work, our skill, like just the quality of it. It's just all across the board, So it takes a lot of years to develop that person into that professional. And senior signing days, honestly, for high schoolers, it's been a huge hit, and we'll have to figure out what the next thing is.
Those faces that are coming through senior signing day, have you been intentional as well about reaching populations that you haven't typically seen come through the trades historically? Has that been a part of your recruitment efforts as well, to kind of diversify your apprenticeship program?
Yeah, I mean, that always really has been. And it's the hardest part is trying to find creative and new ways to do it, because, you try reaching out, you go into the schools, you go talk to people, and various schools from, Milwaukee to Kenosha to Madison to La Crosse and, Rockford, Illinois, and kind of everywhere in between, and so you're hitting rural, urban, inner city, everything, and trying to reach every different type of person, because you're just trying to get anybody in that wants to be an insulator, right? And it's tough, because not one message reaches the same person, or it reaches two people the same, I should say. And so it's constantly, you have to keep changing the message and keep trying to tweak it in every different place you go to try to get more people.
Tell me about the ESL program. Yvonne, I know you've been really active in it. You and LACLA have looped me in on that, and the State Building Trades has been involved in that program. What was the driving force behind ESL for members?
So I think just even when it comes to recruitment parts, it's the lack of resources and knowledge, right? For these individuals, we've existed, a resource like Big Step have existed, but no one knows about them unless someone brings it up to their communities. And that's kind of what we've done as far as like recruitment goes, from the rural to the inner cities and all that kind of stuff. Same thing, we noticed that there's a lot of construction workers that are Latino or Spanish speaking, but they get abused, all these things, right? Taken advantage of because they don't know any better. So with ESL classes, it just gives them an opportunity for us to be able to give them another resource, a resource that maybe the non-union contractor didn't have for them, because all they have is their hands to go and insulate or whatever the trade is. With us, it was like, hey, it's not just about insulation, it's also about growing you as a person and developing you, right? Again, through whatever program we put you on, but you also need English, right? English is going to open up way more doors. English is going to give you an opportunity to hopefully become a foreman and not get injured. Safety, right? You have to be able to communicate with your coworkers and all that kind of stuff, and make sure you're there the next day safely. So it just gave us another resource to be able to tap into a workforce that's already doing our work, and just showcasing that the union just does it better. We care more about the individuals to make sure that they're prepared for their work, and that they become the professional we want them to become.
I probably could have like 4 more follow-up questions for you on that, but I think we will do an episode with LACLA where we can dig into it a little bit more. I just wanted to acknowledge, because I know you were a big part of getting that off the ground. I do want to talk a little bit more though about keeping our members safe, about investing in them and the union having their back. And this one will go to Brett, because you and I have worked on this directly on and off almost the whole time I've been in my role, and that is mental health, suicide prevention, and the specific role you have taken as business manager in advancing efforts to combat suicide and to raise awareness for mental health resources for your members. Can you talk a little bit about what Local 19 has been doing on that front and the proactive steps you've been taking?
Like every trade, and I think every different job, out there, career, there's issues, mental health issues and that, and our healthcare system isn't really designed to really take care of you. It's not designed to protect you or really even open it up. Probably the biggest issues with all of it, you get, your kids, you take them in for their physicals, you take them in for all their things as they grow up, their 2-year checkups, 3-year checkups, all those different things, but nobody ever really touches base on the mental health checkups. And so as you grow older, you realize that if there's a physical ailment, you go get it taken care of. But if you have a mental ailment, there's anything, depression, whatever it might be, anxiety, anything, you don't really know where to go, and it doesn't, you're not really encouraged to talk about it. So we felt that it was important to try to get that message out, that it's okay, that you need to be able to talk about these things. It's okay to not be okay, right? And so we had talked with our international about it. Our international at the time had offered to send me out to Denver to get a training on suicide prevention, to be able to teach those courses. And so after completing that, one of our employers went with as well, because our employers buy into this too. So we've been working together hand in hand with our employers on it, which I think is really important for our members to see the employers taking just as active a part in this, so that they know that, you don't have to try to hide it from the union. You don't have to try to hide it from your employer. It's all right. You can go up and talk to them and tell them you need some help with something. They're going to actually reach out for you. They're going to be supportive in it. So I think that's been really big. And then we started putting on, it's like a suicide prevention mental health class kind of a thing. So we put that on and just kind of get people to understand, the statistics behind it, but also how to get help and why, and how to recognize it in someone else, and how to help somebody else when, something's happening. So we started doing that, and now it's part of the curriculum for our apprenticeship program. We put it through all that. It's discussed with our foreman, and foreman trainings and that sort of thing. So it's really kind of become a lot bigger that way. And then getting in with some of the different groups we have for like U-Turn Health, and now we're with Team as an EAP, and they've been really, really good with it. And like in the beginning when we first started talking about this stuff, to be honest with you, we'd talk about it at our union meeting and we got a little snickers, and people weren't really receptive to it as much. But then after a couple of months, all of a sudden people started asking, we just started talking about it every month. And with talking about it every month, now it's just so commonplace inside of the union. We have journeymen calling up saying, hey, I think you guys need to go and talk to this person because I think he's struggling. And I talked to him a little bit. Maybe it'd be great if you guys could reach out to him, And so now people are looking out for each other in the union, and that's really kind of been a big thing,
And you brought it to the job site, correct?
Yes.
That was another event that I got to be a part of with you all at probably our most high-profile job site in the state. Can you briefly talk a little bit about how you implemented on job sites?
Sure, yeah. So last year on the construction suicide prevention week was in September, working with like Yvonne and Kim and our employers association. We worked through where they gave $10,000 to get shirts and stuff for everybody out there. Yvonne designed them. We had scheduled some stuff with meetings and that, and then we went out to Microsoft and had speakers come out there and talk to everybody out there, and got everybody a lunch and got them some shirts and stuff. We'd gone there. We did the day shift and the night shift out there, and then we went to various other job sites, just kind of getting the message out to everybody. And then we also went to, during the week, it was just like a whirlwind week on a day and night, and we'd go to various contractor offices, and a lot of the contractors brought a lot of their people into the office so we could present to them there and talk with them there about it. And then we also had speakers in here in the office, in the union hall. And so then some of the shops would have their guys, they sent their guys into here. So we had trainings going on in here as well to kind of, get the word out and how you can reach some help and that kind of thing. And it was huge. It was received really well by our membership, by the employers. And we reached over 500 insulators in 1 week, getting the message out. And I will say it was really, really successful in getting people to pay attention and actually make that call. It was really good. I don't know if you guys want to.
Yeah, I'll say for us, one of the smallest trades, we have the biggest suicide prevention campaign nationwide. And we're proud of that because it took a lot. Again, we're a small office and it took a lot of work, but it took a lot of great partners. Like Brett mentioned, our WICA, our association, it takes a lot having the employers be a part of it and seeing the value in it. And I think too, if you ask Brett as a follow-up question, did you ever think that your baby was going to grow into this massive event, you know, and the impact it has, because this has been years in the making. And whether it's one person or 100 people, it changes their lives. That's what the union's about. And I think that just that week we accomplished so much. All the money, all the time, it was well worth it because of the amount of people that actually utilized just that week got informed. Because again, sometimes we have the resource but not accessible right away. The people that used it instantly was game changing, right? Mm-hmm. For us, it made our union stronger. It made our members stronger. It was just overall, and that's what we're going to do it again this year because the impact is tremendous.
Yeah. I'm really happy to hear that. It was a really great event. Felt very honored to be a part of it. So thank you again. You've touched a few times on your relationships with contractors, and I want to talk about that. How do you think about your signatory contractors as partners, and how have you as Insulators gone about developing that relationship, building up trust, and getting to the place where you're able to execute these really unique events together in a partnership with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, it takes a long time to kind of build, I think, that trust and that respect. It's being honest with each other, being fair with each other, and we truly do view this as, like Kimm says it all the time, it's a three-part system, three-party system, right? We have your members, we have the union, and we have the employers. And without any one of those parts, we don't exist. It's not possible. You know, you cease to exist. And so you know, you can talk it all you want, but you have to kind of show it, right? The actions have to show. And our employers, fortunately, we have some really forward-thinking employers. And a lot of our employers now have come from the field. They were insulators, and then they either bought into a shop or they were hired into a shop, you know, in the offices, or they started their own shops. And so they know what it's like to be in the field, and they know what it's like to be a union member and to come to union meetings, and then to, you know, own a business. And so when you can kind of have that relationship, I think it goes really a long ways. And even when I worked in the field, I kind of ran a lot of work pretty much all around the country for one of our local contractors. We had a really good relationship. It was built on trust and you know, respect. And I think because of that, I think that helped earn some things going forward. So when I got into this position, that employer was very instrumental in kind of helping us kind of really push this. And he's the executive director for the Contractor Association now, which has gone a long ways, you know, of saying, hey, look, we're in this together, right? And they truly do view it as you know, as a partnership. We do things, we have labor management meetings like everybody has, and then we meet, you know, try to meet like quarterly or more if need be. But then a couple times a year, we try to do a team building activity as well. So we have our meeting, and then afterwards we do something. Maybe it's, you know, we were at First and Bowl the last time, and it's, you know, it's like a physical activity kind of thing. We've done the game show night. We've done, you know, some of those kind of things. And it's random selecting, so you're on the same team with each other, you know, and you're kind of having to work in partnership. And I think that's really gone a long ways with seeing each other as not just the enemy. And you can't just meet, you know, to have a contract and negotiate something and then deal with things. You have to meet on a social basis as well. And I think that's gone a long ways with helping to see that we each have respect for each other. So.
I see you nodding a lot, Kimm. Do you have anything to add on?
Just a little bit. One thing, when I was in the field, one certain formative of mine would tell me every day at the end of the day, hey, good job today. Thanks for your help, you know. And that went a long way with me. It doesn't really maybe resonate with everyone like it does with me, but I try to do my best when I'm done speaking with our contractor and dealing with them. I say, once in a while, I'll throw in, thanks for being a good union contractor before I hang up. And those words go a long ways. And just like, you know, we'd hope the contractor tells their workers at the end of the day, thanks for your help. I just try to do that towards the contractors, and hopefully it comes around in a circular fashion.
Yeah, it's the little stuff, right? Sometimes
really
that makes all the difference. You made the point, Brett, that all of you, we can't all exist without each other. We can't grow without them. What's your strategy for bringing more contractors into your union to provide more opportunity for your members? Is there there any one principle you guys stick to or strategy you're employing right now to grow from that angle?
You know, we're always open to having more contractors, but like Brett said, members will go and start their own shops, and we do encourage that, and we try to work with them as much as possible, help them grow in any ways they can.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're reaching out to employers, because a lot of that's organizing, right? You have top down and bottom up, you know. But when you can reach out when you have a chance to sit down with a non-union employer and you want to try to, you know, hopefully get them signed up. We try to emphasize our training. We try to emphasize, you know, the fact that, like with our retirement plans and our health fund, a lot of these employers are having to provide health care for their workers, and it's pretty expensive and it's hard to manage for them because they have to handle it all. We try to explain to them that, look, this is a partnership. You're not signing your business over to us. It's still your business, you know. The biggest thing is we're going to help you manage your workload, you know, and make sure that if you need people, we can get you trained people that can do that particular thing. And if you get slow, we can have your people working elsewhere so they can keep working, and they can always come back to you, you know. So we kind of try to show that. We try to emphasize that kind of thing, and the fact that we'll manage those funds for them so they don't have to deal with that. When it comes to increased costs and all that stuff, they don't have to deal with those kind of things. So with doing some of that, for some of the employers, that does help. That one of our contractors that did sign up was strictly over the healthcare. He just couldn't afford the continually having to increase in healthcare costs for his guys. He's like, you guys will handle all that. And we're like, yeah, we handle all that through our total package, right? Through our collective bargaining. And he's been happy since, you know, and that does kind of help with some of these folks.
I'd say even just with our employers sometimes, I think we benefit from our employers being very aggressive, and that's good for us, right? That means we keep our members working, all that kind of stuff, and then getting creative on like how can we create more value for them or find different avenues for them to go after more work. And we do like energy assessments, and that's a different tool that we offer the employers, and the employers see value. Yeah, I mean, just trying to, you know, when it comes to manpower, is that reassurance that you guys keep bidding, and we're going to keep finding you the workforce, and we're going to keep developing the workforce into a skilled workforce. And as long as you want to grow, you'll have our back, and we have your back, and industry's going to keep pushing forward. And that's what's allowed us to gain so much market share, retain the market share, even with all these big data centers, you know. And I think other contractors nationwide have seen the value of, you know, the way that we operate and how we even differently operate than other areas, and you know, they see that there's more of that partnership, and we're willing to work with them, they work with us, and everything just seems to work very well.
Mm-hmm.
You segued me perfectly into the next question I wanted to touch on, and that's data centers. They're completely reshaping construction demand nationally and here in Wisconsin right now. And I know I've heard anecdotally a lot of stories from Yvonne about folks wanting to get in on this type of work. Can you talk a little bit about what those projects specifically have meant for your members and how you're continuing to position your union while partnering with your contractors to be ready for more of that work as it comes?
Well, I had a couple points real quick. Biggest thing is, again, going back to that we're such a small local, and just leadership-wise, we're only a few of us, right? Mm-hmm. To go from 300 members to like 600 insulators within a year, the workload that came with that was insane. But luckily, with a good leadership, we were able to succeed. And you know, there's little things that we got to fix, but you learn from those mistakes. And then now we're ready to tackle the next one. And we became more efficient. Communication, you know, placement, recruitment, what we're looking for, what our contractors are looking for, and all that. On the member side, it opened up a huge opportunity. It opened up a member that, you know, maybe had a kid or a high school senior or whatever it was, someone's looking for a different opportunity, and it opened up a door for them to be able to go try something different and be able to see other trades even, you know, while making a lot of money. And I think the hardest part is just, you know, you haven't seen that increase in wages just nationwide, and now you have an opportunity where people who are taking advantage of that are entry level, no experience, making $72,000 or more first year. Wow. Right? A lot of hours and the big sacrifices, but people are within a year or 2 years are paying off their houses or have a down payment for their first house, or you know, it can help out their family members or their children to go to college, or whatever dreams they have. Right now, we're riding that wave. and anyone that wants an opportunity, the opportunity is there, and that's what we're heavily just focusing on that, and the opportunity that just opened up for us has been huge. I don't know if you guys want to add.
Yeah. Dan Bukevich from the Milwaukee Building Trades likes to say manpower is at a premium, and that's just nice for all of our union workers to kind of have the ball in their court and decide where they want to work and make those choices. More like, I kind of like to call us free agents as union members. Once we have our journeyman card, we're able to go from any shop one to the other that we like best, and it just gives us more of what I would call like an American true freedom once you have all these options of where you want to work. And our union quality of life and just pay is way more of a motivation for these guys and female women to work at these data centers 7 days a week, 12-hour days. That's a huge sacrifice of your life. That's over half your life you're working, and thanks to our union wages, people are willing to make that sacrifice and get these things built. And I don't think that they would be as willing to do it with a lower non-union type of a wage.
Or even if you see it regionally, right? I mean, the data centers being built here, they're being built in Texas, they're being built in other areas, but the wages, because it's a strong union area, right, the wages are huge, and that also allows us to tap into a whole national workforce. And even the way that, Kimm handles a lot of the communication and process or onboarding, I mean, people even want to come and live here, invest in themselves and move out here because of the way how we even treat people, just from day one trying to get started into one of those data centers. So yeah, it's there's a lot of opportunities, I mean, locally and anyone that's looking for work.
And you asked how it benefited the union in a lot of ways too, which is obviously with its membership, get them the wages and benefits and that. But it's also helped all our funds get flush, right? I mean, because you're being able to put that monies in there, and people are going to have their health care taken care of and all those things. With training, we've been able to make a lot of additions and let's call them corrections, I guess you could say, in the training department, right? In how we train and the things we train on, make different kind of changes to all of that. It's helped a lot. It's grown the apprenticeship program. I mean, we have an aging workforce, and I think majority of the building trades really did prior to this. And if you looked at your average age, like we study every year, we look at our average age of our union, how many people could retire in the next, say, 3 to 5 to 10 to 15 years, and what percentage of that is union, how many people do we have to be able to replace to be able to do that. Well, with needing all of that additional manpower, you're taking in so many more apprentices, organizing so many more non-union workers, right? Bringing so many more people in, we're able to replace that and then some. And so, even as people potentially retire, we've got all these new people in the system already. So it's already getting them trained up, getting them schooled up, and they're getting a crash course quick, but they're learning, real fast, and that's going to be really helpful for the longevity of our union too.
Doubling it in 1 year.
Yeah.
Should I hear that right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And like you said, when you started out, Yvonne, people talk about these, well, it's temporary work. It's a temporary job. That first job is the job that gets you in the door, right? You talked about that with Northwestern Mutual. That was your first job. And that's when you talk about the scale of these 5,000 workers on one job site, there's hundreds of them that is their first opportunity, and it's feeding that pipeline that we all know, the workforce shortage of how do we get these people trained up? How do we get them ready to go so they can build the next hospital or the next school or the next manufacturing facility? It's through these kinds of projects, and it is amazing that you've been able to grow at that scale.
Well,
so
you said
quickly.
that foot in the door is important, that foot in the door at Northwestern Mutual, 11 years later, I'm here. 11 years later, I have my house, I have vacation home, I have all these things that I never thought I would have, thanks to that door opening up for me,
With that rapid growth, I feel like more than ever, it's important to keep your membership together, to keep people unified, to make sure everyone's getting to know everyone else and they're seeing the value of the union that they've chosen to become a part of. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the other efforts you guys make to that end? I guess, if one wanted to be glib about it, they could say you guys throw a really good party. But I feel like there's a reason behind it. It's not just for swagger for your union. I just attended your anniversary celebration, and it was different than any other celebration I've seen. We've got a lot of unions in Wisconsin. They've been here a long time, so there's a lot of anniversary celebrations. But you guys I was watching plumbers getting insulator emblems tattooed on their arms. I was watching tarot card readers, all kinds of amazing photos from your union's history. I've also attended your Union Day party that you guys just had like a week ago at the Johnsonville Party Deck for Union Day. Can you talk a little bit about the philosophy from your leadership of the importance of putting on these events? How they make your members feel seen, make them feel like they belong, and kind of internally organize your membership and bring them together?
I'll add a couple of things. So I think at some point we kind of looked at, as long as everything is healthy, right? It's like, how do we reinvest some of the money into our members? And, and I think the biggest thing even with negotiation was listening to our members as leaders and saying, what is that we need, what's missing. One of the biggest things was my wife was raised in a union family. My father-in-law was a union insulator, and all she knows is the union way. And they used to have picnics, be very family friendly, and all these cool events that they used to do. And, she grew up with Brett and all that kind of stuff. Brett being kind of almost an uncle figure, At some point we kind of missed that. We started, steering away from that, and we brought it back, and it was like, how do we connect back with our families and make it more family friendly? And now we have, one member's 4th generation insulator. We want that, right? Because it provided 4 generations. So, as simple as a t-shirt. One day we decided to launch a campaign with just t-shirts, and every member gets 3 t-shirts that says Keen Frost Insulators. There's that identity, right? And 2, because if they're working next to someone that might not be a union insulator, now they're afraid to approach Kim or whoever. Now they have a website on their arm, and they can go visit us and then see, hey, I like how the union treats the insulators. But then 2, it's just having these family-friendly events. We want our families to be part of this. We focus so much on work and so much on other things that, we have to bring back that family unit and be able to enjoy time and break bread together. We break bread with our brothers and sisters at 10 o'clock or 10 a.m. in the morning. It's different when it's outside in a different setting with crack open a beer, at a picnic or a tailgate party, or, 120th year, be able to have dress nice, have a nice date night with your partner, and be able to just, celebrate and showcase this is what the union is. This is, this is what I do. Even with photos with Santa, the kids get a chance to see where mom and dad works, and being able to take photos with Santa, which is the coolest part. I mean, Brett can talk more about that experience for his grandkids, what he's providing in that sense. And these are just memorable moments that people are going to take for life and be able to say, man, the union always took care of me and took care of my parents. Now my dad is retired or my mom is retired. If it wasn't because of the union, we would have never had an opportunity like that. So it's just creating those moments for our members and really investing in them and listening to them. And I think that's why the activity has gone up. We always sell out. Whatever we do, it's the first year, it's like, oh, we think it wasn't that bad of a turnout. Second year, it's like double the turnout. So I don't know if you guys have something to add.
Yeah, I mean, I think Yvonne's right. That's what it really came out to, was like, yes, I worked with his father-in-law. We did apprenticeship together and worked together the whole time. So I knew his wife when she was little. She's about a year or 2 older than my daughter. And so they kind of knew each other all the way through. And now my daughter's married, has 3 kids of her own, and her husband is one of our insulators. And so, we've there's a lot of family in our union, and how do you celebrate that? And you don't want to make it where, yeah, mommy's at work or daddy's at work, that kind of thing. It's, I know where mommy works, I know where daddy works, or grandma, grandpa, or whatever. So bringing Santa Day, having Santa come in and doing all those things, they come in, it's not such a scary thing anymore. Not like, oh, I know where you work, I was there, right? And they come to the union hall to see that. The brewer day, the family day at the brewer park. That's more like bringing the families together, the kids together and the spouses together. Our Christmas party, we invite spouses to the Christmas party. And, originally we'd have maybe 80 people. Now, last year was 325 people for the Christmas party. I mean, so we put on a nice big, a nice meal. You got, some music and, that kind of thing and drinks and stuff. And then there's some, gifts and things. But it gets where the spouses now look forward to seeing each other. Now they're talking to each other like, hey, are you going to this thing? Or are you going to that event or this event? And it starts to bring them out a little bit more. And now when you're working, you don't just feel so alienated from it because there's other people in the same position, that understand it a little bit more. And we're all working not because it's fun. Trust me, we're not insulating because it's fun. We're insulating because we're trying to provide for our families, right? And so that's the whole biggest thing behind this is how do we provide for our family, and then how are we going to be there for our families? And by bringing them into part of this, the union or work isn't such an animus thing. It's more of a they buy into it a little bit more. Now you have when the spouse and the kids buy into the union, it helps the member buy into it a little bit more too.
I think also we do have some small shops where you could go your whole career only meeting the 5 other people at your shop. But when we have more participation in these events that brings the whole union together potentially, you have the opportunity to meet more of your brothers and sisters who have made the commitment to pay the dues and stand, arm in arm with you, collectively bargaining. And it just really helps a better sense of solidarity in general. So we put them on with that kind of in mind, and hopefully it comes around to us with more solidarity in the minds of our members.
I've heard there's another piece that you all are going to be adding to your offerings when it comes to engaging with your members and developing them as workers, as members of the community, and that's financial literacy. I know these are early days, but can you talk a little bit about how that's bubbled up as something that you feel is something you want to have discussions with your members about, and what do you think it will offer them to enrich their lives further?
Yeah, so financial literacy, we've been you can call it like a pilot project. We've been doing it for a couple of years. Just we're so busy though we can't consistently do it. But the biggest thing is when you tie everything that we just talked about, right? Like mental health, family events, thinking that you know what an apprenticeship is, to what it is 4 years later, to what retirement is, how do we enjoy it, and all that kind of stuff. Financial literacy just kind of puts it all together, right? If you're not financially stable, then I always share with apprentices, if money doesn't buy happiness, but buys you time to think and not be reactive when something happens. If I'm broke and I, wake up and all of a sudden I have a flat tire, I'm stressed out. I'm calling my boss. I'm not going to work. So I miss on a day's worth of work, $200. The tire's $200. I'm $400 short for the month. Now I'm behind on my rent, all that kind of stuff. If we can educate our members to be financially stable or just have some form of knowledge on finances, I think it allows them to be able to say, hey, you know what, I was able to afford a second car. I'm going to take that second car and I didn't miss a beat. And I'm going to come back and I'm not going to be stressed out. Instead of me going stressed out to work even, now maybe the foreman's upset because I'm late. I'm upset. I'm all bottled up. So I take it home and then, maybe I hit the bottle, whatever it is, right? And now you're building all this, you have this buildup of things where this allows us to hopefully give them resources for them to be able to make better decisions, stabilize their life, eventually be able to attain their goals, whether it's buying a house, buying a better car, providing for the families, all that kind of stuff. And two, on the apprenticeship side, people don't understand, if you come from outside of the trades or union trades, it's your raises are $1 or less a year, right? And hopefully you're expecting one next year. With us as an apprentice, it's called step increases in pay, right? Every year you get that step increase because you have 12 more months of experience, so you're worth more. So it's like, how do you manage that big of a lump sum that comes in and all of a sudden, or even a nice contract like ours, right? Like, how do you manage that? Most people, the more money you make, the more you spend, right? So you're not fixing the problem. You're still going to be stressed out. You might not be able to afford a house, but hopefully we give them enough the foundation to get them set up to make those decisions on, maybe now I can enjoy vacation, focus on myself, on my physical, mental, emotional self, and then now be able to enjoy being an insulator, being able to enjoy your retirement, be able to enjoy the vacation, and you know, be able to enjoy our local 19 events and come and celebrate because you want to be there. You want to be part of this movement, you know. So that's where, honestly, I think a lot of people, I've seen 18-year-old kids save their first $10,000, pay off their first car. You know, now they're looking at buying their first house, which we kind of laugh and we'll say that's the beauty of our apprenticeship. You'll be making a lot of money at 22. You're going to be buying a house. So a 20-year-old too American now has the ability to say that. Not many, right? I bought my house when I was like 22, so that was huge. And thanks to the union, gave me that opportunity. So it's just about passing that on. What I've learned from other insulators, you know, other insulators taught me little things that, you know, we work with them for 8 hours a day. They become your brothers and sisters, and then you hear something that clicks, and it clicked, and it's just a matter of how do we get that information out there for people that need that help too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we used to have, you could always tell when there was a first-year apprentice class, because, you know, there were kids living at home, all of a sudden they're getting a decent paycheck right away. They all had brand new cars and trucks, right? They were all they just bought everything they could buy, huge bills, and then they couldn't handle it. You know, they have a hard time maintaining that down the road, right? And then you see like journeymen come in for a union meeting and it's all beaters, because they learned already over years, like, I don't need to dump all my money into a car. I can drive this to get to work and back, right? But I want to get a house. I want to do those things. So the idea was to try to reach these kids earlier, and before you just get in that habit of running up loan after loan after loan, right, and get behind the 8 ball on it, and you have to go to work because you have to be there. Get it where you can go. You're going to work so you can buy the extra things you need to do. You know, put food on your table, make your house payment, that kind of thing. But don't just spend more than you make, you know, and try to get them to spend responsibly. And I think it's kind of been helpful, you know, especially for a lot of these kids. They had one in class that I'm never going to get out of debt anyways. I'll never be able to do it. And after they broke it down the very next day, he's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have my debt paid off in a few months." I mean, it was just a matter of understanding how it works, you know.
Yeah, we did a budget and like a spending plan, and then he quickly realized, "Holy crap, I can get out of this a lot sooner than I thought." You know, he came in at his shutdown, and he left by the end of the week. He already had a plan. You know, it usually takes about 5 days to small courses. But that's the thing, you know, when all of a sudden it's like, even if you give the apprentice crap and you're like, "Dude, come on, you didn't listen. Why'd you go buy that nice new car?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I have $15,000 saved. I already met my 3-6 month, emergency fund. Like, I'm good." You're like, "All right, I'll take it," right? Like, you learned, so that's awesome. I'm proud of you. And kind of with Kimm is saying, sometimes even just telling, like, "Hey, that's awesome. We're proud of you. You did a good job. You pay attention. That's what we're here for," you know. I don't know if you have anything to say.
I just want to say, one mentor of mine told me that a union tradesperson is the freest person in the world. An American union tradesperson is the freest person in the world, and that it starts with finances. Once you are financially stable, then you can actually experience like the American dream, which is like the freedom of kind of having control over your own time outside of work, you know.
Yeah, I guess if I could add too, it's educating them on our funds. A lot of people don't understand what a pension is, right? That's the beauty. The best thing is a pension, right? Then you have the 401ks. I make fun of it. It's a glorified savings account. That's what it is. But we have both of them, so then that makes our funds even better, right? Especially when we're recruiting. And then just healthcare, we break down healthcare, or even just different ideas. What happens? We work in construction. It's high risk. Everything. Plan for you working 9 months, not 12 months. You just never know what's going to happen. Layoff season comes. How do you deal with it? You know, start a layoff list. What does that mean? So little things like that to get them kind of thinking about these things so they're prepared, and then not get taken, you know, all of a sudden you get hit with life, because life's going to hit you, and then you don't know what to do next, you know.
Well, that's a great note to wrap up on, I feel like. I want to thank all three of you for coming on today and giving people more insight into the Heat and Frost Insulators Union. If folks who are listening are interested in your craft after this conversation, where would they go to learn more about Local 19?
Call Kimm Hansen. No.
We'll put Kimm's cell phone up on the screen.
Right here.
Well, they can go on our website and fill out an application.
Okay.
It's insulators19.com, insulators19.com. You go click main menu, training and apprenticeship, and click on apply here. It's 3 clicks. Main menu, training and apprenticeship, apply here. And that'll get the ball rolling after you fill out that application. our apprenticeship coordinator will reach out to you, and hopefully you can start a career with us.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all so much.
Thanks, Emily.
It was a
Thanks
great
for having us.
conversation.
What Local 19 is building is a real example of what it looks like when a union decides that serving members means more than negotiating a contract. It means speaking their language, taking care of their whole lives, and making sure the financial rewards of a skilled trade are the ones members can actually build on. Our members go to work every day in some of the most physically demanding conditions in any industry. They work at height, in confined spaces, in extreme heat and cold, and around heavy equipment and hazardous materials. And despite the best safety programs and training in the business, injuries happen. When they do, what a worker knows can make an enormous difference in what comes next. Casey Shorts is a labor attorney in Milwaukee whose practice focuses on workers' compensation and personal injury. He spends a lot of his time fielding calls from business managers, business reps, and members trying to figure out what their rights are after a workplace injury. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Casey, welcome to Trade Talk Wisconsin. Casey, welcome to Trade Talk Wisconsin. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't we just get right into it? Can you tell me a little bit about your firm and your practice?
Absolutely. The Previant Law Firm, we've been around for 114 years, and we've only represented labor, and that will be forever our goal, is to represent labor and their members. We have 5 different distinct practice groups serving labor unions in a variety of different ways. I'm the general litigation practice group. We primarily do personal injury and workers' compensation, a couple other things, but that's the bulwark of what we do. And so often a member will call their business manager. I got hurt on the job. That business manager or business rep or agent will then tell the member to give us a ring and help them out.
What does it actually look like to be a resource for union members and their families in that case?
I never get sick of my job. It's a different day every day. There's different questions, different people, different personalities, and it's never boring. It's a variety of different questions, whether it's, hey, I got hurt at work, now what? And then I'll run through the benefits with them. And I'll say, you don't really need me right now, but save my phone number for you to reach out to me if you have any questions down the road. Other times it's can be really bad. It's a family who's lost a family member, and I got to help them navigate the workers' comp and a potential personal injury lawsuit at the same time, and hopefully try to put their mind at ease that it's going to be, as relatively okay as it can be. But it's just a different thing every single day, and it kind of keeps me going.
How many law firms are like your firm where they're just focused on workers?
Boy, good question. Not many, especially throughout the United States and even in Wisconsin. There's really not a lot of labor-focused law firms out there. A lot of, like the Insulators, they've been around for 120 years. We've been around for 114. And so we've been right there with labor pretty much from the beginning. And so, yeah, we're among a few law firms in the nation kind of who do just exclusively this type of work.
When you are working with members or business managers, reps, agents, anyone in our world, what are the most common questions that you get?
It's often, hey, I've never been in the workers' comp system. What do I do? And I spend the time, it happens probably once or twice a day. I get a complete random phone call from a member, and I sit down and explain, hey, this is what work comp system is for. Explain the benefits. Those benefits being medical bills are covered 100% by the work comp insurer. The next one is wage replacement, which is known as TTD, or temporary total disability. That's 2/3 of your average weekly wage while you're recovering from your injuries. And then PPD. That's a percentage of loss that your doctor assigns to you once you reach your end of healing. There's other benefits in addition to that, but those are primarily the 3 that will apply to most cases. And so I walk through that with people and explain, here's what you can expect as you go through this process. Just knowing most people have never been through this. They never plan to be going through this. And like I said earlier, hopefully put their mind at ease and more comfortable with the system that hopefully they'll only be in it this time and that time only.
Yeah, hopefully. What are the two most common questions you encounter from business managers or workers when it comes to the workers' comp system?
I would say the two most common questions are, do I have to treat with the company doctor? And how that kind of transpires is a person will get injured on the job site and they'll report the injury. So that's a good thing when they report it. Sometimes it doesn't go reported. But when they do report it, they'll be told to go seek medical treatment with what we call the company doctor. It's a preferred provider that they send a person to. I won't name names, but they'll send a person who's been injured to a certain medical provider or outfit and say, you got to go to this outfit to get medical treatment. They absolutely do not have to go to that provider. You can go seek treatment with your own doctor. In fact, I encourage it. If you have somebody you trust or a primary care physician, go to that person. There are some guardrails. It's called the two-treater rule. I don't want to explain it too much, but there's some parameters on how much you can treat on your own. But in Wisconsin, we don't have what's called directed care like other states. And so if an employer is telling you, you have to treat with this doctor, that's just not the case. You can treat with your primary, you can treat straight with an orthopedic surgeon if you know one, or trust somebody in the healthcare system, you can go straight to them. The second question that I get all the time is, do I have to sign this medical authorization? It seems intrusive. I don't want to do that. Workers' comp, well, the answer is yes. Workers' comp isn't like a normal healthcare provider, and so they can't see what you're going through. So they have to know what they're paying for. And they also have to know what your work restrictions are so they can pay you temporary total disability benefits. And so often I will tell a worker, an injured worker, yes, you have to sign those authorizations, but we'll put constraints on them. Again, I won't go through that right now, but there are certain things and certain ways you can fill out those forms so they're as less intrusive as possible and you can protect some of your privacy.
What advice would you give to a worker who has just been injured on a job site?
Report it. And I get a lot of eye rolls from that because they say, well, I get injured almost every day on the job site. And that's certainly true for the trades. I get it. But you just never have any idea how big an injury is going to be. I can't tell you how many times I get a call from a guy who says, hey, I was working on Thursday, blew out my back, and then Friday took it easy. Saturday, back was hurting worse. Sunday, even worse. Monday, they report the injury. Well, it kind of becomes a problem at that point. You certainly can report it on Monday, but it certainly gives the work comp insurer a way to deny their claim. And so that's the first thing, is report the injury. And then second, get medical care. They kind of go hand in hand. I mean, you get bumps and bruises every single day, strains, whatever it may be, but you just never really know how a small injury can become a big thing. There's this case that all lawyers kind of study where it was a supermarket worker and she was handling some meat that wasn't good. She was kind of running it over the scanner. She had a small cut on her finger from a past person who came through, and it got infected. She ended up losing part of her hand because of this infection in her hand. And that's an example of a very small injury that became a really big deal. And so when I talk to different unions that we represent, I always bring up this point, like, you just don't know where this is going to go. And if you don't report it and you don't get medical treatment right away, it's really hard to build a claim. And the work comp insurance company is really going to look at you oddly if you have delays in those. And so that's the best advice I can give people, is just, be aware of your body and go get the treatment as you need it.
Mm-hmm. At what point do you get involved in a claim as an attorney, and what does it look like if someone has reported it and they're not feeling so great and it's time to pick up the phone and call Casey?
Yeah, it's, well, for starters, where we started out, people can call me at any time. Literally, my cell phone number, most people have that by now, and it's a pleasure to help folks out. If they're injured on the job site and they need to talk to a lawyer, or they feel like they need some guidance, absolutely, please reach out. I'm more than happy to spend the time and explain the process to them. But when I actually get retained and represent people is usually when there's a work comp denial. Eventually, if you're on a trajectory where you're going to require surgery, that's a case where workers' comp will usually try to deny your claim, and you retain me and my law firm to appeal the denial of that claim. And that appeal is essentially trying to pursue the benefits that workers' comp should have paid that person had they not denied the benefits. And it takes years sometimes. It's never a quick fix. The state of Wisconsin runs a workers' comp program, and they're in charge of scheduling. And so it can take 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 years to go from data injury to conclusion of a claim. Usually it doesn't take those 4 years, but it can. And it's often not just painful because of the injury, but it's painful how slow the process moves. When a person retains me to represent them in that appeal, what I tell them is, hey, you worry about getting better and healing up. Put everything else on me. I will handle communicating with the medical providers, communicating with the state of Wisconsin, communicating with the work comp insurer and their lawyers. You just worry about getting better, and I'll figure out the rest.
What are the most common injuries you see, and how do insurance companies usually come at those claims?
So I would say shoulders, knees, and your back. Those are really the most common injuries. And what I mean by that is like a torn rotator cuff. I mean, we're in the Insulators hall right now with how they wrap things. Often you overreach and you hear a snap in your shoulder. That snowballs into usually a surgery at some point, unfortunately. And so that's a really common one. Your knees, a guy is working to, again, wrap something, or just bending down to reach for their tool belt or materials, and they twist their knee the wrong way. Ends up in a meniscus tear. And that, again, is a situation where you're often looking at surgery. Or the bending over, just bending over at the waist, picking things up. People get herniated or bulging discs a lot when they do activities like that. And again, often ends up in surgery, unfortunately. The workers' comp insurer doesn't want to pay for that. It's a lot of money. They don't want to pay for it, and so often they'll end up denying those claims and putting a member in a really bad way. And so that's when I step in again and I help the member navigate that system and bring the appeal forward for them.
Workers' comp isn't the only avenue available when someone gets hurt at work. Can you explain what a personal injury or a third-party claim looks like for a work-related injury?
Yeah, I can say this. I'll start here. A lot of law firms won't touch these claims. They're called third-party claims. It's when a personal injury claim and a workers' comp claim are going on at the same time. It's often, I use the example of a traveling nurse. Assume a traveling nurse goes home to home helping people out, and that nurse is going from one house to another, and she gets in a car accident. It's not her fault. Somebody T-bones her. That person automatically will get workers' comp benefits because she's within the scope of her employment, period. She's doing an activity connected to work. It qualifies. Now, there's also that third-party element where there's a person who's not involved in her employment who has caused her injuries. And so you can pursue it just like any other personal injury claim, which I do a lot of work with car accidents, motorcycle accidents, trucking accidents, things like that. On job sites, there's a lot of different employers on job sites. And so much like that traveling nurse, you're on a job site and a different person causes your injuries on that job site. I saw a situation where some non-union painters were painting the outside of a water tower, and they were jumping on a platform, and a huge piece of metal flew off the tower and struck an electrical worker at the bottom in the hard hat. It indented his skull, and he had a permanent traumatic brain injury for life. That's a situation where this guy's never going to work again. And we were able to pursue that contractor who hired this non-union work. These guys didn't know what they were doing. They put this electrical worker at risk for injury, and he did get injured. And fortunately, we made a significant recovery for him. And those benefits that are available through workers' comp don't cover everything. They don't cover your fringe benefit package. They don't compensate for pain and suffering. And so in the third-party action, the actual lawsuit against that non-union contractor, we're able to recover for pain and suffering, as well as some other fringe benefit package things that workers' comp doesn't always consider.
It seems really important to have that dual pursuit. Why don't more firms offer that?
It gets complicated quick, that's why. And you have to have a very good understanding of the workers' comp system to kind of understand how this personal injury aspect works. They often run in tandem. Just this morning, I had a client call me. She's with the bus drivers union. We represent them. And buses get hit all the time by really bad drivers, and they get injured. And so they end up on workers' comp for a while, and then at some point, workers' comp will say, we don't want to pay for this anymore. And so even though I represent her in that car accident, that third-party claim, now workers' comp has denied her claim, and she needs representation for that as well, which is a totally different set of benefits, different legal theories. And so you just have to have a really thorough understanding of the two of them and how they work together.
For members listening, what is the one thing you wish every worker knew before they ever got hurt on a job site?
Report the injury, period. It's what we were talking about earlier, where if you report it, it's on the books, it's recorded, and then if you do end up needing medical treatment and significant medical treatment, you have that in your back pocket. Hey, I did tell somebody about this. Because often, if you don't do that, the employer is going to say, you didn't say anything. You must not got hurt that day. You know, who knows what you did between that day and today that caused this injury? It must have been something else. 9.9 times out of 10, that's just false. A guy didn't go screw himself up doing something else. Most people don't know about the workers' comp system or about the benefits available through it. And so it's such a fallacy to say that and put the blame on the worker. And so anybody's listening, yeah, they just report the injury, and if you need the medical treatment, go get it. Because those two work in tandem, and if you can, get the care you need, it should make it for smooth sailing as far as a workers' comp claim. You won't have to hire us or my law firm to represent you, and it should go smoothly. But if you mess that reporting step up, it can be really costly.
Maybe this is a dumb question, but are there ever any barriers to people who want to report injuries for them to do that? Like people don't want them to, or it
Sure.
doesn't get documented even though they're told it's been documented?
Absolutely. You just never know with employers. There's not necessarily a defined protocol often with employers. I've heard it all. Often a guy will call and say, I don't know who to report this to. I'll say, well, do you have a foreman? Do you have a superintendent? Do you have an HR connection? And I always recommend they either text or email it, somehow put it in writing. A phone call is good, but preferred in writing so that we can present that, if need be, to a judge. Say, hey, this person reported it to this person. They just never did anything with it. Well, at least you did that first step and you said something. It's in writing. It can't go away, hopefully. But yeah, there's certainly barriers. Some, I don't want to go too down this rabbit hole, but sometimes there's reasons why they don't want injuries reported. And it's at the cost of the injured worker. And sometimes guys will say, I don't want to claim it on this job site. It's like, well, okay, but how are you going to move forward if this becomes a bigger deal? Mm-hmm. If you end up missing 6 months of work, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to cover you? If you don't report it, you're going to be in a really bad way down the road. So that's why I just encourage reporting it so much. And, there are certain barriers, but there's often ways around them.
If a member is listening right now and they have questions or something happened and they're not sure what to do, how should they reach you?
Yeah, it's the Previant Law Firm is the name of our law firm. We have a website, it's previant.com. Often reaching out to their business manager or business agent who they're familiar with, or just calling the hall that you belong to and say, hey, I was injured at work. I don't know what to do. And often the union will say, oh, we have the Previant Law Firm on retainer. Give them a call. Let us know. And even if the union isn't on retainer with us, they're more than welcome to call us. I'm happy to help any member out and explain the system and what they can expect.
Well, Casey, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to explain this for workers across Wisconsin. I know this is a big part of what you do is sometimes go hall by hall and have the same talk. So I appreciate you making it available to anyone who wants to tune in here.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah, thank you. This is exactly the kind of information our members need to have before anything goes wrong, not after. If you heard something today that applies to your situation, or you have questions and you're not sure where to start, reach out to your business manager or your business rep. That's what they're there for. And that's Trade Talk Wisconsin for today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.